You sure? Sure you don't want to stretch your leg?
Thank leg.
All right. Well, I'm going to sit here for a minute. Just answer an email and take a deep breath. Okay. All right.
That was Robert Grossman, Kouri's lover, who needed a few minutes because he was so emotionally distraught when they were going over the text messages of their relationship. Now, Kouri, if found guilty, faces a life in prison for allegedly taking the life of her spouse, Robert Richins, in March of 2022 by poisoning him with fentanyl. According to the state, she did it because she needed an out. She was desperate. She was in over her head in this new business, owed over $4 million, and because she signed a prenup, if she divorced him, she wouldn't be able to get anything. Unlike if he passed, then she'd get life insurance. Now, Robert shares that they've known each other for years from South Carolina, and that he speaks to her and finds out that she is purchasing homes and rehabbing them. And so he ends up moving to Utah to help her do that. Now, he also shares that she didn't pay him a salary, but she allowed him to live in the properties and then would give him lump sums to kind of pay for all the things that he was doing. They start having a relationship. They texted a lot of I love yous, etc. What did I get out of the text messages? Number one, this woman never promised that she was going to be with him. In fact, in the text message, at one point, she says that she feels horrible because she feels like she's being selfish, having him sit there and wait to her possibly divorcing her, possibly leaving her husband, that she doesn't know the date and the time if she'll ever leave him. And the fact of the matter is that she feels bad because he's sitting there waiting for her circumstances to change, and that may never happen. And he was like, I love you anyways. And I thought it was interesting that he put in a text message, I love you. And he mentioned something about an upcoming divorce. None of the text messages shared included that Kouri even brought up divorce at all. So then they continue going through the text messages, and they talk about the fact that she texted him the morning of Eric's death because they were supposed to go to brunch and she didn't show up. And so he tells her, hey, where you at, etc. And that's when she says, look, I'm sorry, Eric passed, and that they think it's an aneurysm, that, she's just dealing with a lot right now. She's going to turn off her cell phone. She ended up not turning it off. They continue texting and her kind of sharing details. They then meet up a few weeks later, and he shares that she is distraught, that he never once thought that she had done this, that you could tell, was upset because she even spoke highly of Eric, that he was a good man, he was an excellent father, and that she was worried because one of her kids did not know how to use an arrow, and that's something that Eric loved to do and taught their older son, and that coincidentally, in that conversation, she asked him if he's ever taken someone's life because he was in the military. And that when he answered that, she said, well, how did you feel after? I guess that part of the conversation stayed in his mind. Shortly thereafter, they kind of continued communicating. Keep in mind that I think 2 weeks after that is when she booked a trip to Jamaica with him, but they never ended up going. It was supposed to be in December, and they ended up breaking up. In fact, she was the one that broke up with him. He says that he was interviewed, ended up talking to the investigator that the family had hired, because he saw that she had been interviewed due to a book that she wrote, and then all of a sudden she had been arrested. And he said that that's when he started kind of thinking about things and felt really guilty that he had an affair with her. So he decided to call Eric's sister, who didn't answer. So he spoke to the brother-in-law and tells the brother-in-law about that conversation. Brother-in-law is like, let me give you the information to the private investigator. The one that they paid $100,000 to from Eric's trust. Yeah, that one. And so he calls him, and the guy tells him, she did this. She did this. I don't have, I can't share with you what proof we have, how we know, but we know she did it. That was the investigator. He said that after he told her, or he told him that he started looking at her in a different lens. Then the defense interviewed him and, talked about the fact that they were really not in a relationship. There was no promise of them being together. And he was like, yeah, that's true. In his mind, it was more of a fantasy than it was anything else. She had also given him $25,000, and That's something that they brought up, and he shared that it was due to the amount of work that he had done for her. The majority of it, if not all, was because of the fact that he was doing a lot of work for her, especially in that new house, the mansion. He again shared that he was surprised. He never once thought that she had done it previously. Never brought up anything like that of her trying to take his life. What I also got out of the text messages, if you want to be like overly cautious and you want to say, oh, I know she did it, the only thing that kind of popped up was the fact that she started watching a new show supposedly called Dope or something, and that she asked him if he had ever done any drugs. This was at the beginning of January, and I'm just wondering if she asked him those questions just to see if he was the person that she would need to use to get whatever drugs that supposedly she gave him. Keep in mind, we still cannot confirm that any fentanyl was given to him or that she actually gave him fentanyl, that she actually got fentanyl, because everything's always been oxy, according to the conversations, even with the dealers. That would be the only thing. Outside of that, that man was distraught. Years later, completely destroyed because she broke up with him. And he was just sticking around. I don't feel like he contributed anything. He was living in the house, fixing things as they went, didn't have anything going for him, and really was just doing work for her. And I guess he was working for another company at the same time. And whenever she had time is when she would go and see him, etc. It wasn't like they were together every single day. That's what I got out of this. If you saw it and you feel like he really made it seem like she was a heartless murderer, please let me know. But I didn't get that. Let's go into day 9 next.